Good morning, Ugly Mug marketing friends. Welcome to another edition of Ugly Mug Marketing Coffee Chats, the live show where we drink coffee and chat about marketing, business, leadership, and everything in between. My name is Hannah Balia, and I am the Director of Communications and Teaching here at Ugly Mug. And today we are joined by our digital marketing specialist, Meagan, who is going to be chatting with us all about goals for Q2, setting SMART goals, what she learned in Q1 from setting a SMART goal herself. And it's going to be so good. So, Meagan, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk about goals today.
Yes, I know. I'm like, this is a little bit different. Normally, you and I are chatting like all about marketing stuff like social media or TikTok or like Instagram or something in particular. So, this is going to be a fun change of pace, but I think so good and so timely given the fact that we just had our quarterly team meeting yesterday where we were all talking, as a team about what are our financial goals for the year? How do we kind of break that down quarterly and just all that good stuff that happens behind the scenes at Ugly Mug. But before we even dive into all of that, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been at Ugly Mug, where you're from, what you like to do for fun, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about it. I've actually almost been at Ugly Mug a year and a half, which is insane. Like, I feel like that time has flown by. I feel like I just made a year, and now we're already, as you said, going into Q2 of 2024. So absolutely insane.
Wild.
But I am from Alexandria, Louisiana, right where the Ugly Mug headquarters are. I grew up, honestly, about 4 miles from here, and so always been in Alexandria. I moved away for a little while for college, but ultimately had to come back home and be with the family. And so leading into what I do for fun is honestly just hanging out. I have 4 awesome, wonderful little funny nieces that take up most of my time, and they're crazy mamas as well. Me and my sisters and even my brother are super close, and so we all hang out a lot. And then outside of that, I like to cook, work out, do all the things. And so
I know, girl. I'm like, you're always on your fitness game. I'm like, I need to catch up. I need to catch up.
Come on, girl.
I know. I'm like, shoot, Meagan was doing back and triceps. I'm like, I need to get on it. Well, that's awesome, Meagan. Yeah, I can't believe it's been a year and a half that you've been at Ugly Mug too. I feel like that was just this past fall, and now we're coming up on a year and a half. So time really does fly by when you're having fun. So it's been fun to watch you grow and learn and everything since you've been on the team. We certainly wouldn't be the same without you. So excited again about this conversation. Tell us a little bit about what is a SMART goal. So last week, actually, just for reference to, if y'all really want to dive even more into goal setting, Meagan actually hosted a phenomenal workshop and webinar on SMART goals. You can find that on our YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, available for replay there. It was literally just last week, Thursday, I think. So go and check that out. But Meagan, tell us what is a SMART goal. So this is an acronym. So tell us what each one of these stand for. What does it mean? And how can this help us?
Yes, like you said, SMART goal is an acronym, S-M-A-R-T. The S stands for specific. So just to start off, when you're thinking about creating a new goal, you want to be specific. You want to know what the goal is that you are setting. And so that includes the why, how you're going to do it, what you're going to do, all of the above, making that goal all encompassing, and now not allowing yourself to leave anything out. Like, you want to be specific. And then moving from S, we have M, and then we want to be measurable. So in the specifics of what you're going to do, you want to be able to measure what you're going to do. You want to know how you're going to measure it, what it takes to measure those goals, what increments you're going to take them in, and everything in between, as far as just making sure that there's a quantifiable aspect of the goal that you're setting. And then the A is achievable. we want to make sure that you can actually reach your goal. A lot of people, I think, want a challenge so hard that it isn't reachable, and they're like, oh well, like at least I'll fall somewhere along it. But us as humans, with human nature, we want that reward of achieving a goal, and you won't achieve it, you won't continue to work at something if you don't have a finish line. Everybody, when you're
Yeah.
running a race, if there wasn't a finish line, eventually you would stop running, right? So
Yeah.
always make sure that your goal has a finish line. And a good way to do that is to look at your capabilities and the skills that you have, the resources that you have available, especially if, like, with your company or with your personal life. If you know that you don't have the resources to do the things that you're going to do, maybe let's restructure the goal to make sure that we can do that. And then R, we want to make sure that the goal is relevant. In that same way of making sure that you have the capabilities and everything you need in your tool belt, you also want to make sure that the goal you're setting actually means something to the bigger picture, whether again that's in your
Totally.
company or in your personal life. Like, why would you set a goal that has nothing to do with who you want to be, what you want to learn, or the greater good, what everybody else is working towards? Because at the end of the day, especially in a company, there's always the biggest goal of making sure that the company achieves. And so if your goal doesn't eventually point to that, then, why are we working towards it? What's the point of continuing, to invest time in something that isn't going to eventually be good for the greater good? So,
Yeah.
and then moving from that one, you have your T, and that one is time bound. So you want to put some time constraints on your goal. You can't say, I'm going to accomplish this whenever, because then
Yeah.
you won't. We are
Yeah.
natural
Whenever I can
procrastinators.
get to it, whenever I have
Yeah.
time for it, then I'll accomplish that.
Yeah, and we all know we don't. It's the same
Mhm.
thing. I like to bring in the personal goal. I feel like we talk about goals a lot in the workplace, but when you're thinking about your personal goals, you're a lot of times we put ourselves last. And so if you don't
Mm.
put a time bound, on the goals that you're setting for yourself, it's going to become, well, oh, I had to do laundry, so I don't have time to go for that walk. Or, it's just so much quicker to go out to eat when I said, I would cook at home every day to try to save money to save up for this thing. And a lot of times we really want that instant gratification. And so we do that instead of the work that it takes to meet the goal in the time that we, set it for. So yeah, those are S.M.A.R.T.
S.M.A.R.T. I love that. Okay, so specific, measurable, achievable. What was R again?
Relevant.
Relevant, and then T is time. So time constraint,
Mhm.
having a timeline in place for it. And I love that you brought in like the personal goal aspect too, because y'all, this is not just for your business. Of course, we're going to talk a lot about business, but this can also, like Meagan said, be for your personal life too. Making sure that the way that you're setting goals for yourself is not really setting yourself up for failure, right? But I want to come back and touch on the fact that um you said sometimes, like, you were talking about mindset basically, like we're like, oh, I don't have time for that, or you were saying, oh, like we'll reach that at some point, or oh, if we fall short, that's okay. Like, talk to us a little bit about how mindset plays into setting smart goals. And if you want to, you can go ahead and kind of tie in like personal experience as of late that I know that you've had when it's come to mindset in a SMART goal.
Yeah, so I would say in goal setting, mindset is the biggest thing, because at the end of the day, your mind is honestly who you are, and why you do what you do, and it's the way that you think through processes and everything like that. And so you want to make sure that you have a success mindset. You don't want to go into a goal and already make excuses on when you're at S, you haven't even gotten a T yet, and you're saying, well, I'm going to set this goal, and, it might be achievable, maybe, but I don't really know everything it's going to take to get there. So, as I said earlier, if I at least if I work towards it, it'll be something and I'll be better than where I started. And it's like, no, like that's not how goals work. If we didn't need to set goals if we were going to intentionally fail them, in the first
Totally.
place. And so, what you were hinting on is that, yes, I recently failed a big goal. And I think a big part of reflecting on that goal was my mindset. And so, me and Lily, who is a marketing coordinator here at Ugly Mug Marketing, set out in January and we said, we're going to grow the Ugly Mug TikTok to 5,000 followers. And so we were super excited in the beginning. We were posting every day and doing all the things that we thought it took to grow a TikTok. And so in the beginning, we set our hearts on 5,000 because we were like, oh, it'll just take one video, or
Yeah.
like we'll just go viral and we'll get it, and it'll be this easy thing. And as we started working, we started to realize that that's not the case. And somewhere along in those conversations, instead of saying, okay, what is our plan of action to reach this 5,000? Where did we maybe, and which flexibility and being adaptable in your goal setting comes in, is like, where did we maybe not make sure our goal was achievable when we set it at 5,000, or were we not specific enough when we started out? Instead of having those conversations, we said, well, I think at least if we grow the page some, that'll be fine. And
Yeah.
like we might not get to 5,000, but what if we get to 250? Like at least we got somewhere. We started at 0, and I think as soon as we allowed that mindset to set in, we lost that success mindset of I'm going to do whatever it takes to get those followers. And Ugly
Yes.
Mug recently was in a different type of competition with downtown, and we had to get
Yeah.
a certain amount of likes on posts. And so we literally did all that it took to reach that goal, worked as a team, went out, texted people we hadn't talked to in a long time, like did all of
Yeah.
these things. And we pressed and we pressed and we pressed until we got to that goal. And so reflecting on failing the 5,000 TikTok goal was that we didn't have that same chase. We didn't have that same success mindset. Like there is
Yeah.
nothing that's going to get in between me and reaching that goal. Instead, we decided early on that failure of the goal was okay. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And so mindset is just crucial, like when you're setting these. And I think you really touched on an excellent point of like being willing to pivot, or like also the planning part of this too. Like, hey, this is a challenge. Yes, we want to accomplish this quarter. So we have 90 days or 12 weeks or whatever it plays out to be, right? And so sometimes we can be like, oh, if we grow a little bit, like you said, oh, we'll be fine. Or sometimes we get caught saying, "Oh, I have time." Like, it's only week 1 or it's only week 2. And I know
mhm,
maybe that necessarily wasn't at play here, but I think that comes into play with folks who set goals like an annual goal, right? Like, hey,
mhm,
maybe your business is setting a goal where, yeah, you want to grow your TikTok following to 10,000 over the course of the year. But what happens is we delay, 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 delay because we say things, we tell ourselves the lie, right? That we have enough time, or we have plenty of time, or we'll get to it later. Or, when in reality, if we maybe bumped up that timeline a little bit and we were a little bit more aggressive with that timeline, still being smart, measurable, attainable, realistic, all those things in the SMART
mhm,
goal. But if we bumped up that timeline a little bit, maybe that would force us to
mhm,
have to be a little bit more aggressive, right? And
right.
if we had the right mindset in that moment too, then maybe we could reach that goal. And I think that's one of the really great things about the way that we set our goals at Ugly
Mhm,
Mug is that the time is not always the year. Yes, we do
mhm.
still have an annual goal, but talk to us a little bit, Megan, about how like your goals in particular are structured and set up. What do those look like, and how does it impact the bigger picture of the annual goal for Ugly Mug as a whole?
Yeah, so I would say the way that my goals look is that each goal has a purpose and each goal points back to, as you said, a bigger picture. So whether I'm learning or I'm working on client relationships or I'm doing something to better myself as an employee at Ugly Mug, everything again points back to the bigger picture. And so that's the biggest part of it, as we said, is making sure that your goal is relevant to that big picture. And then yeah, we break them down. We do quarterly goals here at Ugly Mug Marketing. So there is this year goal of we're going to reach this much, we're going to have, this many clients and things like that. But each of those goals are then broken down. Like I say, we do new ones every quarter, and then we have to be held accountable on a weekly basis. Like, okay,
Yes.
so by the end of the quarter, I'm going to do this. But every single week along the way, I'm telling my coworkers this is what I plan to do. And then also my coworkers are saying, no, that doesn't do what
Yeah.
the big goal. And so
The
again, it just
feedback.
points back. Yes, like feedback is so crucial in the goal process in general. And yeah, and I think one thing I wanted to kind of touch on when we were still talking about the TikTok and setting that goal of 5,000 and saying I have time. I think one place where I realized that we failed is that we didn't divide 5,000 by 12 or by 3 because we
Mm,
had 3 months. And so we didn't have increments of time. And I mean, that's the definition of making sure that your goal is measurable, is having the quantifiable timelines. And each week, yeah, like we said, oh, we would post every day and then read the TikTok trend report. But at the end of the day, that 5,000 number, oh, we have 10 more weeks, oh, we have 8 more weeks, oh, we
yeah.
have 6 more weeks. But if we would have maybe divided that and said, well, by the end of month one we have to have 1,500 followers, then maybe we would have had a little more fire, to say like,
Yes.
oh, we got to get rolling, whereas 300 or 200 followers in month two seem like, oh, we got 200, like, we're growing. But it's like, maybe not at the speed that you should have to actually reach a goal that could have been obtainable to have 5,000 followers. So
Yeah, and I think that's so ironic, honestly, because I'm like, that's exactly what we do with, like, our monetary goals, right? So it's like
mhm,
for the social media department that you fall into, it's like there's this big overarching number for revenue that we
mhm,
wanna hit, right? But in order to hit that, we know that recurring revenue needs to hit these certain benchmarks every single quarter. And so
mhm,
that is broken down in such a way where it's like, yeah, we can tell, oh, we're a little bit ahead of the curve right now. So that makes a little flexibility in for, next quarter, but we don't want to get too comfortable, right? Because then we're going to put ourselves in a bad spot for Q3 or potentially Q4. And, based on, historical data and information that we kind of know when those slower ebbs and flows are going to come, or we know when contracts are going to, be on pause or hold out because we work with people that get grant money and, things like
mhm,
that. And so yeah, like having that broken down in that way financially, that still applied. Like, or we should have been
mhm,
thinking about that for TikTok
mhm,
too. So I love that you bring that up. Um, and I think that a lot of business owners, um, when they are thinking about it financially, again, they're just like, okay, our goal is $3 million. We want to hit revenue this year, but
mhm,
they don't think about what is that going to take every single month? What is that going to
mhm,
take quarterly? And how do we actually get there? And
mhm,
having if you're someone who's been around the block for a while, like you've been in business a few years, you might know that there's some trends. Like for a landscaping
mhm,
company, for example, when bad weather's coming and maybe that's going to be a slower season for you. And so maybe you need to
mhm,
divide up those quarterly or monthly goals in such a way that reflect that or make up for that slower season so that you can allow
right,
that to still be a slower time, for your business or you can say, hey, maybe we need to add in a new offering or something during that slow time to kind of
yeah,
make up and keep things progressing along. So yeah, just goal setting is hard, right? And I think
mhm,
this framework of having something that's smart, measurable, attainable, relevant, and have that time frame on it, though that helps tremendously. But talk to us a little bit more about, you touched on it a little bit, but talk to us a little bit more about the accountability aspect of it, because so oftentimes people are afraid to give feedback or to hold other people accountable for what they
Mhm.
said they were going to do, right? We
Mhm.
make excuses for them, or we fear coming off too harsh, or like they're going to be mad if I call them out on this. Talk to us a little bit about that dynamic and culture at Ugly Mug, but what that looks like within this framework of having
Mhm.
your big important goal for the year, your quarterly goals, and then your things that you're doing on a week to week basis to make sure that you're hitting that quarterly goal.
Yeah, so as I was thinking through accountability for, creating goals, I think the biggest thing that I recognize, especially with Ugly Mug and the way that we do things, is that we hold each other accountable before we even start the goal, and that we open
Mm,
up the lines of communication and for criticism before the goal is even set in stone. Like, I can't make my first commitment, I can't check off my first to do for the goal until the entire team has seen it, we've talked about it, we've ironed out the kinks, even down to the way that it's worded, to make sure that it is specific, it is measurable. Someone might ask, okay, well, you say you're going to do this by the end of the 12 weeks, but you know that you're going to be out a week here, and you know that you have this coming up, and also Ugly Mug doesn't currently use that, so how are you going to do it, like what? And we ask those hard questions, or it's even the way you worded that isn't setting you up for success. And honestly, like, I feel like when we start setting goals, they become very personal, even if they're at work. They're like, this is what I want to do. This is what I, feel like works. And so it can be, really intimidating to say, like, okay, hey guys, like, this is what I'm going to do this quarter. And
mm,
honestly, leave that meeting with, Megan, you got to come up with something else, because that
yeah,
doesn't, point back to the end goal. And which rarely here does that happen. It's more so, let's refine what you have to set you up for success. So, like I said, I just wanted to bring in that part of when you're setting goals, whether they're personal or professional, you want to make sure that you are letting some other eyes see the goals before you set them. Other people see things that you may not see. You're a little biased to yourself, like, well, of course I can do that. Of course I have this. And
yeah,
then you'll have that friend that's like, girl, you know that, you say you're gonna do this on Saturday, but you know that every Saturday you do this, this, and this. And like, maybe change the day of the week that you want to commit to that, or just things like
yeah,
that, where you have, people that care about you and want you to succeed, to see the things that you might not see where you have your blinders on.
yeah,
And then I feel like, honestly, that's the biggest thing as far as accountability goes, and just being open to, as you continue on and you get that solid goal, allowing people to, say, like, hey, like, last week you said you were going to do this. It doesn't seem like you quite got there, but, you said you did. But the way that you're explaining it, did you really? And so,
yeah,
like, being open to that and saying, like, okay, maybe I did cheat myself a little bit there, or even like, next week I'm going to do that. And they're like, well, in your regular job, weren't you going to do that anyways? So, like, maybe stretch a little bit
yeah,
this week. And it's like,
yeah,
okay. And so, like, just
yeah,
being
yeah,
open to that and allowing that. So, yeah.
yeah. That's so good. And I love that you said like people that care about you or people that want you to succeed. And that's so important. And I think at Ugly Mug, we've really intentionally developed and built a really great team of people where it's like, hey, we are all on the same page, right? Like we're all drinking the Ugly Mug Kool-Aid. Like we believe in this company, we have buy-in, we care about it. I care about Megan. Megan cares about Alex. Alex cares about him. Like we all care about each other and we want to challenge each other to be the best version of ourselves. But we are all like, we're in the same boat, paddling towards the same finish line, right? Or we're running the same race. Like we all want to get there. And in order to get there, Every single team member needs to have those good goals. And so if I let Meagan set a goal that I know isn't attainable or achievable, or, that isn't stretching her enough in order to help us get there, I'm going to say something to Meagan, right? Like that is so like, that's so important, y'all, when you are setting those goals. So whether you're setting something personal for yourself and you have people on your team, your family, your friends, your network, whatever, who can help you, hold you accountable, or check you on those goals, that's crucial. And I think that that's what's like so beautiful about our team too at Ugly Mug is like we all have buy-in. Like when Wayne was talking about like the financial goal for the year, we're like, yes, we can do that. But how do we get there? That, part of that's on us as team members to problem solve for each of our departments and figure out, all right, how are we going to reach that goal? But then we even just recently had a conversation yesterday at that quarterly team meeting of, hey, we think some of our numbers are off. Like what Wayne's number is and what we have set departmentally, the math isn't math, and to really help us like get there, like we need to like stretch those department goals just a little bit more in order to help us get there, which is fine. Like we all, I think we're like we want to go there, we want to grow, we can get there, but what does that look like? What ways do we need to pivot or shift? And that's why I like this idea too of setting those quarterly goals that help you get there, because it allows you, it forces you to pivot in order to get there, rather than just being like, again, later. Oh, we have so many weeks, y'all. There's 52 weeks in a year. Come on now. We got, however many more weeks to go. Like we got 40 more weeks. We don't need to be worried about that. No, we need to be worried about it now. We need to be pivoting now and making those decisions and having those conversations so that we can get there eventually. So tell us, Meagan, like what one of your goals is for the quarter. So just so y'all like fully understand too, a little context, like we have a wildly important goal. And if y'all would like, I can show y'all, I can drop a screenshot or a link to like the framework for what it actually looks like. Like we literally have a spreadsheet that has, here's the wildly important goal. That's our monetary goal for the entire year. And then we have, all right, here's the quarterly goal for the department, or here's the quarterly goal that the digital marketing specialist or the marketing coordinator or whoever, like this is the money that I'm responsible for as a member of the team. And then we have these three like lead metrics. So essentially each lead metric, we say, if this lead metric were true, it would directly impact that monetary goal for the quarter. And then ultimately that quarterly goal is feeding into the thing. So all of these things need to be connected and tied together in such a way that if all these lead metrics were true and I accomplished it, it's helping move the mark on that quarterly goal. So Meagan has a quarterly goal for revenue, but Meagan, tell us about some of those lead metrics that you set as goals to help you reach that quarterly revenue goal for yourself.
Yeah, so I think the one I'm really excited about, I love learning. I was in school, I feel like forever. And so with that, one of my goals this quarter is to complete a content marketing course. And so with that, I do content and strategy marketing every single day. And so it's like, well, why, Megan, are you learning that? It's because I'm excited to learn more. Every single day, there's so much room to learn, and with learning and honing in on your skills, you get more efficient. You're able to do things faster. You're able to do those things better, and you're able to give knowledge to your clients, when especially at what we do in marketing. Our clients are coming to us for our skill, for our knowledge, to help them build their brands, build their sales revenues, things like that. And so if I'm not constantly learning what's new and what to do, then I'm not going to reach my revenue goals, because I won't have anything, to give my clients where they'll want to stay every single month. And so that's the one that I'm most excited about, just to dive in there, commit to learning this amount of time each week, which will stretch me, because right now, like trying to grow and get more clients and learn new clients and things, like focusing on that time, which is a big thing here at Ugly Mug, and making sure that we're using our time wisely. I have to make sure, like, okay, by this point, I'm going to be here with the course, and looking at the entire course before I even started to see how much time commitment it's going to take, and making sure that I have the capability and the time to do it. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. I think sometimes we really dismiss using work time to spend time honing in on our skills or learning or growing. But in reality, we should be investing in that in our team members, or allowing our team members to invest in that time in the way that Wayne allows us to explore and to grow and to learn more. Because ultimately, like Meagan said, she's going to learn something new that she can turn around and apply to her clients. She's going to become more efficient. She's going to become even more knowledgeable, and even better expert. And the reality about Meagan's role too is she's working specifically in digital marketing, which changes y'all every single day. There's always a new update on Facebook. There's always, some new platform or something that somebody has a question on or wants to add on to their services. And it's our responsibility to have knowledge about those and be able to lead and guide and direct them. And so that aspect of having some sort of learning goal for your team, or investing in your team members' learning and continuing education opportunities, do not discount that. Do not discount that, y'all. And that is such value to us as employees too. Like the way that we have opportunities to learn and grow and explore, we might not have that elsewhere, right? Or we might not have time in our personal lives to go out and use that time to go and learn and read. We have other commitments and things. And so to be able to spend that work time learning and growing and have someone investing in us in that way is tremendously valuable. So I love that you shared that particular goal, Meagan, because that's another tangent I could go on about how important that is to invest in your team members and to allow them the space, really. Like Meagan had a choice on what course she wanted to take, or what learning looked like her for this quarter. And I think that's really, really crucial. But to Meagan's point, she's still using that as a SMART goal, right? Like it is still something specific. She has the course picked out. It's measurable. She knows how many weeks the course is going to take her. She knows what she needs to accomplish. She knows the end game at the end of the quarter, the next 90 days is to finish it. She knows that it's achievable because she has already broken down what that needs to look like. It's relevant to the work that she does every single day. And then we have the time on it, which is, hey, by the end of this quarter, this needs to be done. So again, love that you shared that. Y'all, we are at 32 minutes here. We have been going on and on and on about goals. Meagan, I just want to thank you for making time to chat with us about goals today. Again, super timely with quarterly team meeting and all of that coming up. Appreciate you making time for us in your schedule. So yeah, thanks.
No, thank you. I love this chat. I feel like there's so much that, honestly, even every time, like you said, I did a webinar last week about SMART goals, and now we're talking about it again today. And so I think there's so much to be learned every single time you talk about it, even for myself. So yeah, I loved it. Thank you for, letting me come on here and chat about it. So.
Yeah, of course. Y'all, next week we are having a brief break on Coffee Chats. I know it's the beginning of the quarter, but we're going to take a pause, take a beat. I'm actually heading to Florida with my family, and I'm so excited. So I will be in Florida. No Coffee Chats next week, but the week after we will be back and better than ever with some amazing topics. But I would love to know from y'all who tune in with us weekly, or even if this is the first time that you're tuning in, is there anything in particular that you are looking to learn in Q2? Any topics or that feel relevant for you as a business owner, or as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, someone who's just getting started, or someone who's been in the game for a while? We have people on our team with traditional marketing knowledge, with leadership knowledge, everything in between. Wayne started this business from the ground up, right? And so someone with that true experience too. And we have friends that are experts. Just last week, we had our friend Mike Brevick from Cyberdogs Marketing come and talk to us about branding, which he is just a wealth of knowledge. Go back and tune into that episode if you're interested. And so we want to bring in new experts. We want to make sure that we're covering topics that y'all are truly interested in. So if you have any ideas or any topics you want to see us talk about in the next 90 days, please drop a comment here on Facebook or on YouTube or on LinkedIn. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Shoot us a DM on any of those platforms as well. We really want to make sure that we're providing content that feels relevant and feels really timely and important for y'all in the seasons that you're in. So again, thank you, Meagan, for being here. Thank you all for tuning in, whether you watched live or you're catching the replay. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and drop in your topic ideas for coffee chats for Q2 of 2024. And we will see y'all in 2 weeks. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.